Dan.
Hi, good
Hello.
afternoon/morning.
What time is it for you? Are you in the same time zone as me?
I am in Mountain Time, so it's 10 a.m.
Okay, no, it's 12 here. How's it going?
It's a beautiful day in Wyoming, so I cannot complain.
Is it actually?
It actually is.
It's been kind of crappy here, but it's nice today, so that's good.
That's nice.
Um, okay, we have gotten a bunch of questions from people beforehand. But when people tune in live, I think there's a bit of a lag, so it'll take a minute. But we'll probably get some other live questions. So like I told you before we got on last week, kind of did a mix of the audience questions and then the me questions because I just like to ask weird questions and get the answers from people. So
keep me on my toes. I get it.
yeah, I feel like if we start, I literally have a list of funny like interview questions on my phone that I will pull out at parties and just ask people because it's funny. But actually, I feel like we should start a little more serious with you because I have like business related questions for you.
Oh boy.
So did other people. So first one I'm gonna ask is, what's the worst part about being an artist?
The worst part about being an artist is the pressure to make money from it.
Oh, that's a good answer.
That is oh my gosh. I think that is the number one worst. I mean, there's like, you got like the personal stuff, like the stress, like, am I good enough? Will I be okay? But like, that's between you and you. And there's lots of like great other artists out there who have figured it out or a little further who can help you out. What's rough is being in a society that's telling you like, oh, or like, as soon as you're old enough for them to ask you this question, they'll be like, are you making t-shirts out of that? Are you selling your work? Can you draw my chalkboard? Can you do my wedding? Can you this, that? And so you're like, okay, so one, it immediately becomes commoditized. And then on top of that, like if you say, I'm going to go into art, then the questions are like, so, but I mean, is there money there? Can you build a career? And all of those, just the pressure to turn it into something besides just like the heart calling.
So I sort of remember your story from when you came on my YouTube channel a while ago, but actually one of the questions that was submitted from Dory, Dory said, your lettering is absolutely amazing. Curious about your background and how you got started. So let's tie that into the last question. Like if you said that the worst part is that it's commoditized and that it's made money, then how did it start for you? And kind of where did it end up now? Are you making money from it? Like give people the whole rundown.
Yeah, super easy question. Let's see. I have so much practice in this, and yet it's still I always hit this point in my story where I'm like, hurry up, finish it up, wrap it up. So let me see what I can do. Speed run. I'm one of those kids who's like born drawing, and my parents were super cool, like to just always encourage me they would like just give me all the stuff. I was that kid collecting stickers when the other boys were playing football. And then I eventually learned to play football, but that's beside the point.
Put stickers on your football and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Best of both worlds. Very High School Musical. When I graduated high school, it was in the middle of that recession of like 2008, 2009, like just coming out of it. So my brain was like, do something practical, get money. But I've been like literally drawing and doing logos and like dabbling in graphic design all through high school. For whatever reason, it just never occurred to me as like, this is a practical path to try to pursue. It was like, okay, yeah, hobby, we'll keep it that way. And, that was corroborated by everyone else in my life who would be like, yeah, you're a bright young lad, you can do science, so you should do science. And so I thought I should do science. And I went and got a chemical engineering degree. The first half of my chemical engineering degree, I spent thinking, I don't like this, but, I haven't even gone halfway through, so maybe it'll turn around. And then at the turnaround point, I still don't like this, but I'm halfway done, so might as well just finish it up. And, it didn't occur to me that I could switch, and I think there was a lot of fear in that. At the same time, I think there's something to be said for like, I'm going to stick this out and then see what happens next. So I'm grateful for what happened is what I'm trying to say. Even though during that time I was also moonlighting as a graphic designer for like all the clubs I was a part of, and friends were like, I want a tattoo. My sister's making t-shirts, you know, stuff like that. So finally I graduated, and when I started looking for jobs was when it really hit me, like, oh yeah, no, I can't do this. I cannot see myself like working in this field. I can see myself studying and doing homework, and you know, I'll figure out this problem, you figure out that problem, and we'll share. Now it's like I had to go wake up every day and do this for life. No, I not about that. So my parents again were very cool, because I said, like, here, let me pull the millennial card. Give me a year to do the, you know, the infamous gap year. I will spend that time like just brute forcing my way, just giving myself a chance at graphic design to see what happens. And they're like, okay, you got it. Clock's ticking, but you got it. So I, that was a time when I was doing a lot of like illustration on the one hand and then graphic design on the other hand, but only knew how to use Photoshop. So lots of imposter syndrome. Like, what do I need to learn? How do I do this? The best thing that happened for me was I just decided to start posting stuff online. And I think in like 2014, 2015, the algorithms at the time and maybe the communities that existed at the time, the combination of the two just made discovery a lot easier. So I was very fortunate in that respect. I just started posting stuff, hashtagging it, started getting features. I still remember the first time I got like featured on Good Type and like started blowing things up a little bit. I'm like, I have 1,000 followers. My life's about to change. So that also coincided with me starting to find graphic designers and artists who were, you know, making it in the real world, and meeting up with them, hearing their stories, starting to expand my own horizons, and, you know, letting myself believe I was capable of this or what I needed to do, like it could happen. Instagram got me an invite to Dribble. It was a nice Australian guy who I never really talked to after that, but he like found me on Instagram, sent me a Dribble invite back when those were super rare, or rarer, I think. And so I was like, my life really is about to change. And that got me more freelance work. So I'm building a portfolio. I eventually get a lot of like freelance jobs, including from a small company out in Wyoming, which that's a spoiler for the future. Started working with these guys, and then applied for internships locally in Philly, where I was living at the time. Got an internship interview for the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce, officially known now as the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Philadelphia. The internship interview, by a crazy chain of events, turned into a full-time job interview. And I got a full-time job as a graphic designer, which I never thought was going to be possible. In my head, the narrative was like, you need a degree. And unless you have the degree, you know, you have to be like extremely exceptional and prove yourself like for years. But here I was now working as a designer.
You mean at the interview, they didn't make you show your degree?
It was unbelievable. Actually, like to that point, when I came back for the second interview, like there was like the people interviewed me the first time. One of them left, which is why they needed a new designer. So then we get the new manager in. New manager's looking at my resume like, did you guys ask him about this major? Like, oh, it didn't really come up.
That's amazing.
It blew my mind, shattered my categories. I had an incredible manager. She was, she knew that like I only really knew Photoshop. So she was like, we're going to do intensive training in design and Illustrator for the first few months, but also like, I trust your taste and your ability to learn. And I think like it paid off for them, because I was so hungry to be like, yes, let me prove it to you. I can do this. And yeah, it was a fantastic relationship. And then 2.5 years into that, I started thinking like, it's time for a new job. And that's when my boys out in Wyoming called me up again. And they're like, we are hiring a creative director, and we think you're the guy for that. And I'm thinking, Wyoming sounds like a nice change right about now. So 2018, I got my best friend, who's one of those guys who buys a minivan when they're 22. He's like, I've got a minivan and I will take all your stuff across the country because I love road trips. So my best friend and I go out there, I got dropped off, I got plugged in, and yeah, I've moved up the ranks in the company. We're kind of a scrappy startup in marketing and business consulting. So now I am the chief creative officer at OnlyCo is the name of our company. And then on the side, I've just been doing the lettering stuff like nonstop. Going to Creative South, which I'm repping here, which really a conference in Georgia that connected me with so many of like my favorite art people, and really helped me realize like what the online community and what the wider art community was and looked like. So yes, lots of different rabbit trails I could take from all those, but I think that's the overall story of how I ended up right here, right now.
Okay, so in a nutshell, now you make most of your money from your actual job, but you do art on the side. And are you making any money off of it, or are you doing it for fun?
Yes.
Yes.
I have decided, at least for now, to like to do it for fun and like sort of monetize it from time to time. Anyone who's like watching my print store, I am sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at updating it, even though like I've set it up with drop shipping and it should just be so easy. But like, yeah, I've started like scheduling times to be like, okay, put stuff up, because like it's not just, I think sometimes the narrative is like, oh, I don't want to sell out, or like, I don't want to seem money hungry. But the truth is, I think, one, when there's an audience for it, then you're serving the people. And also, secondly, like, I think as an artist, when you want to say something and you want to get that out there, the products, like, it's better to think about products in my mind as a mode of, you know, reaching more people, and as a mode of maybe like serving more people with that message. So that's where I'm starting to come around to it.
I think that all of that is interesting, but I'm going to ask you a completely out of left field question now. Okay. Oh my God. This is really funny because it's on my list, but also Kelly in the chat asked this question. Do you, when you put toilet paper on the roll, do you put it so that the toilet paper goes over or comes under?
Over. I do not understand. I don't understand the under point of view. It's like, physically speaking, why would I want to expend like that extra energy, like whatever fraction of energy, to reach a little further and then pull it out from underneath the roll and then risk it like rolling up and then being like lost on the other side? Guys, no.
Nightmare. The only answer is over. So I'm glad that you said that.
Exactly.
And I also love that Kelly asked that question because it was on my list too. We'll do another one out of left field and then we'll go back to some serious ones. Again, from Kelly, she wondered, how do you eat an Oreo?
All at once.
One bite.
Yeah, it's really embarrassing.
I don't think so.
I almost always am starving when it's Oreo time. Like, it's so stupid. It's like, it's always like a snack situation, you know? It's never like, you think cookie dessert, but Oreos always only show up like, you know, along.
They're sustenance. It's just sustenance for you.
Yeah, exactly. Keep you 5 more minutes focused in the class or seminar.
Oh my God, that's funny.
I'm just like, all at once.
Okay. Oh, this is a great question. This was actually the first one. It's from Laura. She said, I love your work and your style. I also love your singing. And then I wanted to ask you this question too, so I'm glad she did. Where do you find your inspiration for your lettering? And I know you talk about this, and I also just want to point out that, like, I think of all the letterers that I follow, I'll see your stuff and be like, where does he get the ideas? It's constant. Every time you post something, it's like, how does he have a new, fresh, like, perspective or thought or something that you're lettering? So where does that come from?
Well, first of all, thank you. That's very kind. Oh gosh, I would say the big test, I'm always asking myself, like, okay, cool, but does it matter? And if so, why? That's probably what drives it the most for me. Like, I want to, first of all, because I know, like, usually it's going to take a long time. Like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make something. And so it's like, if I'm going to commit to drawing this up, like, why does it matter? Why is it something that I want to share? Why would people care about this? And so the answers could be like, because it's Mother's Day and there are certain ways to think about how that day affects people, or like because it's about creative inspiration, and a lot of your audience is creative, so if you talk about it, it'll probably like help affect something there. And so by answering the question also of like, why would it matter, it sort of preemptively gives me the ideas for like, okay, this is what a caption should sound like. I should be able to explain this one a bit because it's a little more complex. Or it's like, let me step back, do very little of a caption because this one kind of speaks for itself, and to say more would just either ruin it or distract from like the impact it could have. So it creates like an intentional little like bubble of work as I'm putting the thing together. And yeah, if it doesn't pass the like, why does this matter? Why? The way I see it, right? We all have a certain amount of attention and energy when we're scrolling through our feeds. And I've always wanted to respect that for people and be like, if you're going to hang out in my corner of the world, or if like I'm going to occupy a little corner of your world, I want it to give you something back. I want you to feel like you've spent some valuable time that has changed your life a little bit from just, the typical endless scroll. Because when I encounter that, I'm always super psyched. And so if I can offer that, I'm going to do what I can. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I would say that you certainly accomplish that, because there's, like you said, there's a lot of noise, especially on Instagram. And I think that a lot of, and I'm super guilty of this, a lot of the stuff that people will put out it's not ever run through the lens of like, why am I doing this? Why does it matter? It's normally just like, what's going to get likes? What's going to get follows? But at the end of the day, why do you want those likes and follows?
Right.
You
That's really good. And I love what you said there too, because, it's not saying don't do this for likes and follows. I think if we can all admit, like, that's an important component to like growing an audience and reaching people, but it's answering the why question. So it's not just, I need the likes, I need the follows. It's okay. Wait, hold on. What am I doing this for? What would those represent to me? Okay, let's do something that I know strategically can impact my business and grow my audience, but also like delivers and fulfills me in some way.
And it doesn't have to, I mean, I think you're just a deep person. So a lot of the things that come out of you thinking about that stuff are like deep, meaningful things. And the quotes that you share and stuff are like deep. But for me, or for other people, it doesn't have to necessarily, like, just because you're trying to think of like, why am I doing this, doesn't necessarily have to mean it needs to be like some radical, like life altering thing. It could literally just be like, my meaning, my purpose with sharing is just to entertain people.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple. Or like, if people really like watching slow calligraphy videos, like there's not much meaning behind like squiggly lines coming out of a pointed pen, but people sure like watching it. And if that makes them happy, then that's your purpose, right? So
yeah, and knowing that's the key.
Yeah.
Being like, why isn't this more deep?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I could try to be as deep as you, and it'll just like, it's just not in my soul. I'm not like a super deep person. I'll tell you great dad jokes and like, that kind of thing, but I'm not going to get super deep ever.
That's amazing.
If you have to sing a song at karaoke, what are you going to sing?
It is usually country.
Usually, like, you do this all the time?
I've only done karaoke once in my life.
Okay.
Well, once and a half. There's one time camping. That doesn't really count because you're out in the woods and you're drunk. So there's a George Strait song called Amarillo by Morning. That is my go-to. And then a close follow-up is either like If Tomorrow Never Comes by Garth Brooks or I Told You So by Randy Travis.
Okay, you're a country guy. I don't think I would have pegged you for country music.
Yeah, I mean, here I am in Wyoming. It probably just got under my skin. And the best thing is, like, I don't personally relate to any of those songs at all because, I'm single, so I don't have anyone I'm like pining for. And I certainly haven't like lost someone who's going to say, I told you so, when I come running back to them. But it's just like, I just love the emotion of it. And it's just perfectly in my range. So it's comfortable.
Okay, great. Well, I won't put you on the spot this time to make you sing it, but maybe next time. All right. Question from Lisa. Oh, Lisa asked if you could give us a sneak preview description about your upcoming workshop at Workshop Week.
Yeah.
What is Workshop Week, Dan? Tell us.
Workshop Week. Well, I'm so glad you asked. It's coming up very soon. Shoot, what are the dates?
June 7th to 11th.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew that. That was a test.
I mean, it's like fair that it's confusing for you, because when I reached out to you, it was only going to be a 1-day thing.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the plan was for it to be a 1-day thing, Dan, with like maybe 10 artists. And then so many people said yes that it had to become a 5-day event.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
And it's been so awesome to see like people's response to the concept too. Just blowing up.
Yeah.
So yes, the week of June 7th, every day there's going to be pre-recorded workshops that will be streaming live. Yeah. And I am one of them. And I am talking about rapid lettering tips. So the idea of building a practice of lettering and doing it quickly. And so there's some mindset stuff that I talk about for how to like collect inspiration. And then when you actually dive in and you're on your iPad, I use an iPad in the thing, but I also talk about how you could think about it if you're just taking, like I used to do a sketchbook on the train to work and just start practicing. And if I say more, I will spoil the whole thing. So there's your sneak peek.
Okay, cool. So rapid, I think the official working title is Rapid Procreate Lettering Tips or something like that. I think
so. That sounds right.
Okay. I know I watched the whole thing, but the title is...
And I know I made it, but I don't remember either. So we're on the same page.
Again, from Lisa, she said she notices you'll be using Procreate. Do you know if there's any sort of similar touchscreen program for art and lettering that could be used with the Windows-based Galaxy Flex? Do you have any experience with that?
That's a good question.
You're allowed to say no if you don't know. That's fine.
I don't know. I suspect that Photoshop may have an app. But I also don't know. If they do, Photoshop is a great... I think Adobe has worked really hard to make Photoshop a great like drawing experience on mobile as well. So look into that avenue is what I'd suggest. Okay. Or just, bite the bullet.
Yeah, seriously. I just bought the new iPad. It hasn't showed up yet, but.
Nice.
Dan, I think I know what the answer is going to be for this question.
Oh boy.
When you are at an event and people stand up for a standing ovation, are you like one of the first people or one of the last people to stand up?
I'm like the first 20%.
Okay.
I'm like, are these idiots like their mom? And if not, like if there's a sense, well, I guess.
Am I at a graduation ceremony and am I going to look like an idiot?
Like, oh, am I going to have to keep doing this now? Oh, oops. So I try to judge it. I will say if it's like something that is extremely meaningful, which has happened to me maybe 2 times in my life, where I don't even think about it. I'm like, yep, it's like the 5 minutes before it's about to end, I'm like, I know I'm standing up. Who cares who else does? But that has happened twice. And the other times I'm like, are we doing this? Okay.
I feel like there's like 2 distinct types of people. Okay, let's say we're at like a concert that's like, the concert was good. Like I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
It wasn't, nothing like shattered my world, but it also wasn't bad. It was good. I feel like at the end, there's that awkward moment where that people are going to have to do the like come back for an encore thing. There's always the people who are the first to stand up for it. And then if it was just a good concert, I'm like, you're gonna make me stand up. You're gonna make me do this for like 5 minutes. We know they're gonna come back. We know they're coming back anyway. You know? But I kind of pictured you being like, I'm not talking at like a good concert. I'm talking about something really good. I pictured you being the guy that's like, yes.
I am the woo boy.
Okay. Gabriella asked if you can show us how you keep your workspace, but it looks like you might be in your bedroom.
Yes. My workspace is usually, like when it comes to art, it's this on my lap. So my workspace is pretty much anywhere, everywhere. I do have, which I can't show you. Oops, sorry. I have some cool like desk stuff that keeps it organized, but it's not really designed for doing stuff since so much of my workflow is digital versus analog. So
Was it always? I feel like when I started following you, a lot of it was more paper.
Yeah, it was definitely more paper based, and I feel like I might need to go back to that just to spice things up a bit for myself, and I guess that would also do it for you guys. So win-win.
Do you feel like the iPad has made you a better artist or a worse artist?
I think better, because the ability to rapidly iterate is huge. Like I find that I still apply a lot of the same intentionality. It's just that now I can do it faster, so I can try new things and keep going. But so much of it, I default to the same kinds of analog practices. Like so much of my work, I try to keep that organic look in there. I try to use brushes that simulate more analog tools, because that sort of forces me to slow down, and it looks, I don't know, there's something about making it look that way that is more satisfying as I do it. So
you're not turning up the, like, what's that setting where it smooths the
oh yeah, no, I can't really do that unless I'm doing like a very intentional experiment around.
Yeah,
what is it called? Streamline?
Is it Streamline, or there's one called Jitter?
Yeah, any of those that like, look, you drew a perfect curve. Congratulations. You're like, I did not do that, but thank you for making me look good.
Yeah, I turn those things off when I play with it, because it just, I don't know, I don't use the iPad very much. I don't really know what I'm doing on it. That's why I got the new one, because I was like, maybe it'll make me try harder on it, but I don't know. It just it doesn't feel as like real. Do you ever, when you switch from iPad back to paper, do you ever double tap on paper by accident?
Calm me out. Yes, it's the worst feeling. It is so embarrassing. Yeah. Like I'll look around. No one's gonna see me do it, but I'll like look around when it happens. Like,
it's like when I got laser eye surgery and I kept doing this to push my glasses up. I don't know which one's worse. I would say probably that.
I need to do that. I've got contacts, and contacts.
Oh, they suck. Yeah, they're the worst.
See, anyone who doesn't have contacts out there, if the thought of putting little plastic discs in your eye freaks you out, it is that bad. It does get better, but it is that bad.
No, it sucks. Dindy says, how are you feeling? How have you learned to rest? What has given you comfort when the waves of grief crash?
Dindy, always asking the deep questions. I appreciate this so much. Let's take this one at a time. One, feeling, I'm feeling great. I'm very grateful. And doing this is super fun too. I think anytime that I can connect with the wider art community, it gives me a lot of perspective, and it makes me very excited and very grateful to be where I am.
It's kind of crazy how you can connect with people like you and I have never met in real life, but it feels like if we did, it would be totally normal because we've done this multiple times. I know.
Like, oh, hey, I can hand you a drink now. That's cool.
Yeah, maybe someday.
What was the second question?
How have you learned to rest?
How have I learned to rest? This is one of my favorite things to talk about.
Teach me.
So this 6-word, is it 6 words? I'll count it later. This phrase, retreat to return, don't retreat to escape. That is my 7 words, the don't. Thank you. That has helped me so much. And then I'll also add therapy. Therapy's in there, but that's sort of a given. That's the foundation. Do it. Talk to people, especially as a creative. It is so worth it. And if you have a full-time job, you could probably finagle insurance on it. So think about that. But the idea of like retreating, I think, is crucial for creative people, because we, again, like going back to earlier, so many of us, I think, spend our time figuring out how to monetize it, how to make it a business, and that is extremely important and helpful. And I just love seeing all the ways that people do that. But I think, like, whether you're a hobbyist or a business person, when you're a creative person who has like this creative spark, you've got to go recharge it. And what is damaging, I think, is a mentality of feeling like the recharge period, or like the rest period, has to be like so loaded with meaning, like, okay, if I'm going to rest, then I'm going to like have to plan it out and do this and that. And then like, I'm going to meditate 25.5 minutes each day. And I'm going to eat just like whole foods for this week and do a purge and like record it. And then, but don't post, but don't get on social media, but then like get a little bit, like you start making all these rules for yourself. And it's just as exhausting as when you're not retreating. And I think it's because it's this retreat to escape mentality where like, oh, I gotta throw away that world and make this perfect world for a short time before I go back to it. And it's better, I think, to realize it's all the same life. You're still going, and you're gonna go back to wherever you were, and you're gonna go back to the grind. So when you take your time to step back, like, just accept, first of all, with yourself, like, okay, I'm gonna be back in 3 days, and that's cool. Let me take a moment to think about what that looks like, and what do I want to change about that. So rest being a time of reflection on the life that's going to continue, instead of just trying to discard that life and pretend that you're Paris Hilton in Ibiza, I think is helpful.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think that's really hard to do, especially when you, like, I as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about like how people get the Sunday blues.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear the cat?
Mm-mm.
He's driving me insane because the door's closed. He's like screaming at the top of his
Your microphone setup is wonderful.
Okay, perfect. It's this new Mac. It's got the great setup. No, but yeah, I'm thinking about like the Sunday blues, or the Sunday scaries, as some people call them. Like it's like when you know, from Friday to Sunday midday, you're excited because you're on a weekend and you can relax and retreat, and whatever word you want to use. And then as soon as Sunday starts rolling around, it's like, yeah, you're going back to a different life. And it's like, those are two different things. And I think it shifts when you're able to like infuse things into each one that make you happy, that doesn't have to be an all or nothing. Like, I'm relaxing here and I'm working here. It can be like, I'm doing what feels good in the moment always, you know? Yes. And that's like also a very privileged thing to say. Like you can't always be happy in the moment when you're working at a job that sucks. Sure, yeah, you have to do, you know. But yeah, I think, and even as someone who doesn't technically have a Sunday, like I work 7 days a week sometimes, and like weekends don't really mean anything to me because I could have a weekend on a Wednesday, but it's still really hard to do that and to break out of that. So I can see how that would be like incredibly challenging for people who have a regular 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of just like going with little things, that like actually listening to yourself instead of setting rules around like, oh, I heard that meditation is really good for relaxing, so I'm gonna force myself to do that every day. I've done that. I've tried to force myself to do that every day. Now I know I enjoy meditation, but I'm not going to force myself to do it every day. I just do it whenever I feel inspired to do it, you know? Right.
When your body and mind are going to cooperate with you.
Yeah.
In it frequently, it's so much better.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and Dindy's last question. What has given you comfort when the waves of grief crash?
That's so poetically said. I love that.
It has a orange heart, a star, and a fire emoji.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That is the feeling of dealing with grief. So on the one hand, I let's see, how do I answer this quickly? I feel like, you mentioned privilege, and I feel like a lot of us have the privilege of like being happy when we're happy. I think like happiness is often actually a privilege that we, like, all of us can tap into, because we're not always going to be there. We're all pretty much guaranteed to encounter some times of grief or like depression, anxiety. Some people will struggle with these things chronically. All of us will have periods of deep sadness. And so I think integrating that into the fabric of life, similar to like my answer about retreating, it's sort of being mentally prepared for it on the one hand, being like, okay, I'm happy now. That's great. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm not always going to be here. So, what can I learn or what can I keep for myself so that when something happens that otherwise might like upend everything, I still have some stuff to hold on to. And then, so for me, it's like God, my family, and friends and community. And the idea of like other relationships with other people and beings. I think that is the best way to get you through grief. Said like a master of grief. That is the answer to grief, people. No, I think the answers to grief don't usually come from just like going inside of yourself and endlessly ruminating over your feelings. I think it comes from a combination of that and then taking it outward in whatever ways you have to, and connecting. And I think the temptation with grief is, because it is so personal and because so many people are bad at helping other people with it, is to just get internal and be like, this is mine. I will either swallow this or I will do something else with it. And so reach out when you least feel like it. That has helped me.
You said the part about, when you're happy, realizing you're not always going to be there. I can't remember. I wish I remembered where I heard it, but it was recently. And it's like almost exactly what you're saying, where when you're in a good place, understanding that you won't always be there, but also on the flip side, when you're in a bad place, if you've practiced doing that when you're in a good place, like you're happy, you're constantly reminding yourself, I'm not always going to be here. Like, let's bank some of this up. Then when you flip it and you're in a bad place, you can also do that same thing where you're like, okay, same as when I'm happy, I'm not always going to be here. When I'm sad, I'm not always going to be here. So
that's so good. Mm-hmm. Like, this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get a little less serious.
Involving grief.
Yeah. I don't know how you're going to answer this one. If there's a spider in your house, do you kill it or do you set it free?
The context is very important. If the spider is very large and in a place that is incredibly offensive, like my bed or like the bathtub as I'm about to step into it, it becomes public enemy number one and it dies. I'm sorry, spider, you're dead. Almost any other time, I feel like I can get like existential about it and be like, yeah, the circle of life, buddy.
He's just here. He's just living his life.
There's one less mosquito in the world because of you. Thank you for that.
Okay. So the answer is there is no answer. It depends.
It depends.
Okay. I think we'll end on this next question, which is from Safa. Actually, she asked two questions. The first question was, how do you choose layout and colors? And I'll just start for you and say that Dan has a lesson on my YouTube channel about layout. So we'll start there. Okay. But colors, I feel like you often do black and white.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. For colors, I would say I like the idea of making my Instagram feed, like its own piece of art, like something you can look at and enjoy looking at. So I'll usually get into like a color period, and or wait, is that the good way to say it? I should rephrase that. Like a color era, like a chapter of the feed. Where it's like, there are times when if you scroll down far enough, you'll see like I cycle through 3 colors that I will then change the backgrounds and the text. But yeah, I think the easiest way to do that is always black and white, which I think comes from when I was just mostly doing it with a pencil or a pen in a notebook on the train. So learning how to like come up with things that I thought looked really interesting without the element of color. I think that continues to pervade it. Sometimes I forget that color is at my disposal to make things look more interesting. So I think that's pretty much, yeah, that's my theory. I'll sort of go design first and then be like, oh yeah, colors.
Okay. And her second question was, what advice would you give to any aspiring hand lettering enthusiast, especially if they want to create awareness in their community? I guess she means like build an audience.
Wow.
There's so much there.
Boy, yeah. Don't lose your love of the craft. Do whatever you can do to preserve that. Whatever you need to do, including like extended breaks that scare you about losing your audience. If that's what it takes for you to keep loving what you do and not get so burnt out that you give it up forever, that is worth doing. And also just keep creating. I'd say you will learn about yourself. You'll find your style. The thing that everyone, I think, like young artists, I still put myself in that category. I feel like I'm still like learning and growing there. But like, I think a big obsession is like, what's my style? How do I find my style? How do I define my style? How will people recognize this? And honestly, you will not get it by just absorbing other people's stuff and thinking about it. You just have to start doing stuff, finding what flows for you, and letting that surprise you and change the direction. As you grow confident in what you love doing, so preserving the love and just doing it constantly, I think you will find that people will be attracted to that, because you will start inevitably like creating a body of work that can't help but speak to the world. That makes sense.
Good.
And then I think there are some technical things that will come in and help, like, hashtag strategies. And I'm sure like if you go to Becca's channel, you will find so much good stuff about, how you can put yourself out there and different technical stuff that you can do. And so foundationally, keep those things in mind and don't let the cart lead the horse. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah. I think that's what I'd say.
That's such a good answer, especially the part about do whatever you can to actually keep enjoying it. Because as soon as you start, like, every day waking up and being like, did I get any new followers from that thing I did yesterday? It's like that thing you did yesterday, no longer, you don't enjoy it because it's a thing you enjoy doing. You enjoy it because you're getting likes, and then
it's
no good
Yep.
anymore. Yeah. Okay. I should have asked this question up front. I asked Sheena last week too. What is your nickname? Good or bad, you have to tell us.
My nickname.
Yeah. I mean, you have a really short name, so.
Yeah, it's funny. I think all my nicknames are longer than my actual name. Mm-hmm. In one sense, Dan is a nickname because my name is Daniel on my birth certificate. But some people call me Danny. They tend to be like older white guys. Like Danny or like Dano. Yeah, Danny or Dano. And then Daniel-san is a huge one. Thank you, Karate Kid. I think those are the 3. Danny, Dano, Daniel-san.
Okay. What does the K in Dan K. Lee stand for?
It is my middle name. Wait, that's obvious. My middle name is a Chinese middle name, Kung Hui. Okay. Fun fact, I have 2 other brothers, and each of our middle names is in a different Chinese dialect. Oh. I don't remember what mine is, but Kung Hui. Basically, I think it means like shine.
Interesting.
Which is really nice.
I'm going to just call you Shine.
Okay.
Okay. Last silly question, and then we're going to shut this down. Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world so you could speak to everyone in the world
Already.
or speak to animals?
Oh, the first one.
Really?
Because here's my theory. If you could speak to animals, their actual vocabulary is probably like eat food, eat mate, eat, and you're like, okay, but can we talk about like the universe and like eat, mate?
That's true. I just
Who knows? I could be totally wrong. Like once we talk to them, it could be like, oh, thank you. Finally, one of you is here to unpack.
I feel like that's probably a good answer. Like if we're talking about squirrels or something, but I just really would love to talk to my dog.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
And maybe that's because I did not grow up with a pet that it was easy for me to say.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
you just love to be able to talk to a big whale from the bottom of the ocean who can just like tell you what he's seen? You know?
Would be cool. Well, anyway, then I'll have friends who can talk to animals in this universe. So whatever language they speak, I can find out from them.
True. Both are good answers. That's an impossible question. Well, Dan, where can people find you?
Right now, the best place is on Instagram at Dan Drawn Words.
Cool.
I'm working on a website, The Perpetual Struggle. And I also have dandrawnwords.com, which is not the website I'm talking about. That's my print shop, the one that I mentioned earlier, has products on it and is about to get updated.
Okay, well, Dan, thanks for coming on, and I'll see you again.
Yes.
June 7th to 11th for workshop.
This has been so fun. Thank you, Becca.
Okay, Shine.
Shine Lee.
Ditto! Okay, I'm gonna let you go now.
Oh my gosh.